Oh, hi. I was just going over my notes. I apologize for the delay in the presentation of this lesson, but I'm in the final stages of a bad cold which turned out to be an unusual allergic reaction mimicking some COVID symptoms and was cause for alarm. But I've had all the tests and certified COVID-free, so I feel well enough to get back to work. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Bill Scott, the president of Store Report. I have served the convenience store industry since 1978, and 17 years ago I began working on a solution to restructure the way the convenience store industry functions. By testing new ideas in hundreds of convenience store locations throughout America, as I began creating this course, I tried to remember that all of us view reality in slightly different ways. Sometimes the differences of opinions regarded by coworkers are small, expected, and considered harmless. But at other times they can be enormous, mind-boggling, missed entirely, and a danger to the very institutions they are part of. No matter the differences, the people involved are considered sane. Who judges, and who's to say who's right and who's wrong? However, one thing never ceases to amaze me. The majority is usually proven to be wrong. How do we live and function together harboring a plethora of diametrically opposed views of the truth? It's a fact. The market leader creates the environment in which all other competitors must compete. It's also a fact that the sitting market leader's position is impossible to capture unless you patiently wait for a hole in the environment to appear and someone takes action to steal that position right out from under their noses. It goes beyond the scope of this lesson to describe the phenomenon in greater detail. However, for the record, the primary tool to detect these tares involves an ongoing exercise commonly known as technology impact analysis. I hope to discuss this topic in future lessons, but this much I will say. The primary cause of a market leader losing their position usually occurs after the sudden appearance of what is called the emergence of a disruptive technology. Nevertheless, every market leader has a life cycle, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Its demise can generally be traced back to an event the market leader either missed or purposely ignored. Ironically, as in the case of IBM versus Microsoft, the event may have been caused by the involvement of the market leader themselves. Without IBM's willing participation, Microsoft might have never existed. Competing head-to-head with a market leader is suicidal. In the middle to late 1970s, the market leader in the computer industry was IBM hands down, and Burroughs, Univac, NCR, Control Data, and Honeywell competed against each other within the IBM environment. They literally picked up the business that IBM ignored, but rarely competed directly with IBM. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates noticed a tear in the IBM environment when the Intel Corporation invented the 8080 microprocessor, and IBM discounted small computers that used this technology as being nothing more than electrical toys. Look, I could talk about this for hours and hours, but my good friend Bob Cringely wrote a wonderful book and a series of videos with the title Triumph of the Nerds, which can be purchased in a set on Amazon, and the entire fascinating era is documented there. Corporations which have used new technology to launch a major innovative business thrust include the American Airlines Sabre system, Netflix and the demise of Blockbuster Video, Walmart versus Kmart, Sears versus Montgomery Ward, the American Hospital Supply System, American Express, Merrill Lynch, Federal Express, Reuters, and even the Wall Street Journal provide us with countless other examples. A market leader usually dominates a market by becoming the largest entity within the market, but occasionally the leader may control the market but not actually be part of it. The National Association of Convenience Stores, better known as NACS, was created in 1961. NACS provides some excellent services to the industry, primarily their lobbying efforts and involvement with the United States government. I can't recall when I first noticed NACS becoming the nationwide market leader of the convenience store industry, but it seems to me it occurred in the mid to late 80s. However, it seems that sometime during that period, NACS solidified the environment in which all convenience store retailers functioned. They even attempted and failed to create a software system that they intended that all convenience stores would use. They developed their own database format that supported what later became known as category management. Setting aside all of the useful services provided by the organization, just as their attempt at creating a universal software program failed, category management has become the main killer of convenience stores in America and was designed to benefit the suppliers and manufacturers who service the industry, and a major contributing factor that has caused the larger convenience store companies to go from controlling 92% of the market in the year 2000 to 34% of the market in 2016. That's a 58% drop. The convenience store market has flipped, and 66% of this market are virtually on their own, left to follow in the failed footsteps of the 58% that came before them. The 1 to 10 store operator market, the largest segment of the convenience store industry, is unsupported largely because there is just no money to be made servicing that portion of the market. I first noticed this myself in 2003 and have spent the past 17 years working on a solution. I believe I have proven there is a better way, and if the leaders in the industry had chosen this method at the onset, they would still be running their stores at a profit. That's why I believe the life cycle of the convenience store industry has reached end of life. But if we use breakthrough technologies coupled with restructured management procedures designed to work in this new environment, we have a chance in restarting the industry using modern tools and ideas. This is the point where I'm going to reveal the hierarchical structure of my reimagined convenience store industry that will ensure its survival in the decades to come and beyond. I'll fall back on the Pareto principle once more to say that some of you will find it a valid plan, while others will have various reactions, starting with serious doubts to suggesting the plan sounds absurd. Now that's a good thing, because Albert Einstein said, if at first the idea is not absurd, then there's no hope for it. It's true, you know, and backs up my belief that nothing revolutionary comes without radical change. There are two ways to develop a plan to fix problems. You can take what you believe to be true, based on your knowledge, backed up by years of experience, start with an overall objective, and then work out a solution. Or you can do as I did, and find out why these problems exist, and then fix each problem keeping in mind that more often than not, each and every solution will evoke yet another theory. Newton's third law: for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Let us say your goal is to maintain the accuracy of your inventory. There are several possible solutions, but I will concentrate on the most obvious. First, to ensure that you receive the inventory invoiced by the vendor, and second, to maintain an accurate and up-to-date count of your stock on hand for accounting purposes. If your current audits do not track item counts, you are already severely handicapped in this area. But we have an easy fix for that, and we will discuss it later. Ignoring the situation of non-existent item quantities for the time being, the solution to the first two problems are related, but require different actions. In fact, there are often more than two solutions to a problem, But the best solution is always to create a plan that will solve all of the issues involved. For example, once I had a customer who had developed the belief that suppliers, all suppliers, were basically looking out for themselves, and any errors made by the suppliers were always in favor of the suppliers. Empirical research has proven that 65% of all invoices contain errors. It didn't help to remind him that according to statistical data, the majority of the vendor errors were to the benefit of the retailer. To this particular retailer, he was certain it was the other way around. Therefore, he insisted that his employees must check the accuracy of every invoice coming into the store. He also demanded that all inventory must be dispersed by 3 p.m. on the day of its arrival because of space. Else the store manager would be docked against a portion of his or her bonus. Added to this conundrum, their primary supplier delivered as much as 180 items in one delivery. The result was understandable. In general, the cigarettes got counted and everything else was scattered as fast as the employees could tear open the boxes, for the mere reason that losing a carton of cigarettes was a serious crime, and losing a pack of chewing gum was rarely noticed. The owner, an extremely bright individual, didn't stop to think. Each of his wishes were doable, but not both at the same time. So I had to figure out a solution that would solve both issues to the satisfaction of the owner and get the job done. First, the cigarette cartons would be checked. That took 2 to 5 minutes. The rest of the inventory would be dispersed immediately. Section managers, I'll get to them in a moment, would count the fast-moving items first by counting the most active inventory recently received and on the sales floor and in the stock rooms, and the rest later during their own particular delivery cycle. In other words, the slower movers, mainly those that receive fewer items every other week or so, would be counted after all the fast movers were handled. Any shortages would show up in the counts. However, if we counted the fast-moving items we recently received first and neglected to counting some of the rest, those items would appear out of stock and the supplier would be contacted to explain why. Having a few slow-moving items go out of stock now and then paled in the cost of having a year's worth of overstock to maintain and finance. Now you are obviously curious as to who is going to do these spot audits, and we will address that part of the plan in just a few moments. But for now, let's assume there are many other conflicting processes that need to be cleaned up, starting with inventory management and how often the bathrooms need to be checked. And the truth is that everything that happens in your store has a positive or negative effect on everything else. If you look at your store as a complex integrated machine with thousands of smaller machines, your inventory, working in harmony to produce the greatest amount of profit, you will begin to understand the science of retail in a different light. I would also like to insert our findings that without exception, every convenience store I worked in had at least twice the inventory needed to meet customer service level. And when we get done, we will explain how we remove most of that hack that was causing a slow death to the retailer's business. So the problem is not near as difficult to solve as you perceive if you reduce the effects of issues that can be quickly solved before you begin. I can usually eliminate over 50% of the overstock just through observation alone. It would take literally thousands of pages to document the processes I went through to come up with my plan. But the resulting solution is optimized, elementary, easy to understand, and simple to implement. The bottom line is that it will take a commitment on the part of the store operator to see the process through from beginning to end. While the external processes are fungible, the internal processes are highly dependent upon each other. So let's get started. I will begin by revealing the compact schema using a few simple block diagrams, and then we will delve into each section at the appropriate time. Obviously, not all of them can be covered in one single course. When the plan is implemented, the corporate diagram probably remains much as yours is today, with minor fluctuations according to the size of the company. However, two corporate departments will receive the greatest impact. First, the purchasing department will be bolstered to handle the ordering processes. The ease of making this change will vary as to whether you are currently placing orders or you are accustomed to the bad habit of allowing your suppliers to put what they want in your stores. One other position to be modified is the role of store supervisor, who currently acts as a liaison between corporate and multiple stores. That position will be repurposed to that of an inventory control specialist, hereafter referred to as the ICS. It will be a new skill that they will need to learn, providing corporate support to the stores, as they are doing now, plus assisting selected store employees in managing the store's inventory. In a single store operation, virtually all of the corporate functions will continue to be handled by one or two persons, but the rest of the schema will remain the same. It's really a great deal easier than it sounds. On the non-corporate side, each store will have a store manager as usual. The only exception, as I said, will occur in a one-store operation or maybe a two-store operation where the owner may manage the stores. However, there will be a point when and if you grow where store managers become a necessity. Store managers will be responsible for cashiers, but rarely, if ever, hire them. One of the prerequisites of this plan requires all store employees be hired by corporate, who not only hire employees, but are also responsible for their basic training and education. In an upcoming video hosted by Andrea Scott, the processes of the hiring and training of convenience store employees will be discussed in further detail. If at all possible, the company should strive to get a commitment from new hires that they are interested in a career, followed with a promise that the company will provide them with ongoing education, advancement, and opportunities that they can receive in no other job. You will be able to show them videos. We will create plus others that can be acquired on YouTube that assist in employee development. In addition to the usual paperwork, the store manager's job is to manage cashiers and oversee their store, but they will have no authority over sales, purchasing, placement, pricing, or anything to do with inventory, except in the case of regular meetings with the corporate inventory control specialist, the ICS, assigned to the store. Cashiers will do what they normally do. Since the amount of inventory arriving at the store will be greatly reduced according to our plan of buying only what can be sold before the invoice must be paid, the time required to restock the shelves will be greatly decreased. Cashiers will also train trainees according to our plan of a minimum of 2 weeks of training before they are left on their own. There can be exceptions, of course, according to needs, but trainees starting at a minimum wage must be made to understand that the advancement to cashier is a big deal, and there should be a celebration of sorts when they receive the title of cashier with a slight increase in pay. In other words, it is important that being a cashier at your company is something that should be considered a milestone in their ongoing retail career. It will also serve as a beacon to attract the right kinds of individuals you want to hire. Selected cashiers may aspire to the position of section manager. These individuals will command two roles, 1 hour per shift as section manager and the rest of their time as cashier. They should dress differently, wear a badge, and have seniority over other cashiers, all in keeping with your promise to help them advance into a career. Again, we are looking to advancement to section manager as being a great achievement, and two should be celebrated. Employees who feel they are making progress in their careers and celebrating for doing a good job will be what we are striving for in your staff. Salary advancement is secondary. I've always believed that employees work for a paycheck, but they will scale mountains for praise and recognition. The position of section manager is the next step to become an inventory control specialist, who is a corporate employee with an opportunity to become a manager of stores that inventory control specialists report to. Not all employees will aspire to becoming section managers, and that's okay, but we should strive to make them want it. The job of the section manager is to take that hour aside from their cashier position to maintain a section of the store, to be sure their shelves are dusted, remove bent, soiled, expired, or damaged merchandise, check pricing labels if present, replace misplaced stock, rearrange facings, restock from the stockroom if necessary, take note of pending out of stocks, and count the items in their sections according to instructions to be given to them on their arrival each day through email or other means. They need to become intimate with the disposition of their inventory. During their time behind the cash register, they will report directly to the store manager. But with regards to their job as section manager, they will report to the inventory control specialist, the ICS, assigned to their store, reporting anything of interest to the ICS and doing what the ICS instructs them to do. The section managers will turn their counts into the store manager and or the ICS, and they will be forwarded to corporate and entered into a spreadsheet to be managed by purchasing, which will track the sales from downloads from the POS systems and the section manager's counts, resulting in purchase orders to go out to the vendors at the appropriate lead time for the inventory to be delivered. By looking at the count of items on the shelf and determining the turn rate for analysis of the items sold, the precise volume of each product can be ordered accurately. In the system that we created for our customers, most of these ordering processes can be done electronically. And those of you who want to know more can write to us, and we will be happy to explain it in more detail. However, this course has been geared to help mom and pop stores, and you should not need a complicated software program or add additional employees to implement the plan I have outlined. With a supplier like this, the benefits to the supplier are enormous. It will give the supplier the opportunity to sell more inventory to the stores by unblocking the sales pipeline, preventing out of stocks, and the supplier can make more frequent deliveries using panel trucks instead of large 18-wheelers, saving money on fuel, insurance costs, professional drivers, maintenance costs, and other things. The inventory will be received on the honor system, except for cigarettes, of course, and discrepancies will show up quickly in the daily audits, being carried out by section managers. The benefits of the described system include fewer stockouts, the prevention of overstock, out of dates, never carrying inventory on your books with the implementation of a virtual consignment arrangement, eliminating carrying costs, reducing insurance costs, the elimination of theft. We have evidence that proves that effects on employees will cause them to police their own actions. The elimination of shrink, the elimination of errors on invoices, better customer service level, better employee relations, etc. I want to thank all of you for your interest in this subject. In our future videos, we will concentrate on each of these subjects in greater detail. Your feedback through our email at storereportinfo@gmail.com will be extremely valuable to all of us. If you have questions, we will be happy to discuss them with you in detail. If you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe to our channel if you are interested in learning more. And we hope to see you again next time.